All right, so now we to the real interesting parts. I've held their stuff hostage. I've been assaulted in the Scotts Bluff Hospital on the fifth floor where I was taken because I was trying to turn bad cops. Those bad cops manipulated Jen Beebe, and next thing I know, I'm in a fucking nuthatch. Shouldn't have had to do that crazy shit, but I did because these guys weren't doing their jobs. I shouldn't have had to cruise up and down Main Street in Chapel, Nebraska at 9:30 at night, screeching my brakes and honking my horn. But obviously, if I make a 911 call, they're not going to do their jobs. I need someone else to call 911. Now, if it would have taken me 4 hours of doing that or 4 days of doing that, it didn't make any difference. I was going to do it until someone actually fucking stopped and called 911 because then they have to write a police report. Now, then they had me sent to Scotts Bluff by manipulating Jen Beebe, or Jen Beebe's a lying piece of shit. In either event, I broke some computers up there, a keyboard and a monitor, and basically every time they'd get close to me, I'd break something else. Well, of course, I'm there on a 72-hour suicide hold. They didn't hold me for the whole 72-hour hold. Meanwhile, I've also, and literally that same week, I was kicked out of church by Ron Nordyke because I couldn't sit down because my back hurt too much. Of course, if you guys have seen any of my artwork, Mr. Ron Nordyke was also the guy who put me on the down list in art so that I couldn't go to prom. 2 years in a row. And that's because people's parents in this town were paranoid I was going to pull an Eric Harris or a Dylan Klebold. You know what? I still helped to set up prom. I still got to go in for the Grand March. If I wanted to pull an Eric Harris and a Dylan Klebold fucking Columbine style whatever, I could have fucking done it. Ron Nordyke pretends he's one of them Christians. He's not. He's fake. Just like the rest of them in town. Just like Laura Nelson. Just like David Nelson. Just like Pastor Rod Wright. So they have an officer show up, and these people that have treated me like shit at this hospital, they're sitting around in a circle. Some of them are sitting up on the counter. They're all basically sitting there staring. Now, obviously, that's going to be on their security cameras, but how do you get access to that without a fucking lawyer? And no lawyer is going to do shit if you're called mentally ill unless somebody goes in with you. Someone who actually cares. Someone who says, hey, this is wrong. What these folks didn't realize is that it was going to be ongoing until they actually spoke up. Now, I'd given Molly Smith some evidence, and Jen Beebe had my backpack. She dropped it off at the hospital, but she had claimed that she took photocopies of the stuff that was in there. I never saw them. The electronic evidence was even more important. And of course, when they dropped me off out of the hospital, I was intimidated by the hospital staff and the officer. They gave me a court date, and goddamn right, I broke their computers. I'm proud of it. Between human lives and your shit, I don't give a holy fucking goddamn about your shit. If busting your Maserati is going to save children, I'll break the fuck out of your Maserati. That's not a threat. It's a statement of fact. If you've got a baby, whether it's in a Ford Pinto or a Maserati, in the middle of the summer, locked in that vehicle by themselves, I don't give a fuck about your car. So obviously it's not a threat of vandalism. And I had to walk out of that fucking place. I was told that I couldn't come back to the Scottsbluff Hospital, that there was some sort of order to prevent me from being able to go back. They never should have fucking taken me there to goddamn begin with. But Jen Beebe's a fucking moron. And she's a fucking piece of shit to boot. Decent people don't take advantage of their jobs like that, like Scott DaCosta did. So then I had to walk with that backpack that Jen Beebe had brought. None of my stuff is working. I've got one phone because they took most of my other stuff. The one phone that I have that's charged up enough to use is my flip phone that I had in Virginia, the one that I was looking for right after Natalie disappeared, that was at Ken and Leah's house. You know, I've got that flip phone. And of course, I had to call 911 with it. And that's how do you find the 911 call when it doesn't have a phone number attached to it? So the thing that I noticed is that it hadn't been hooked up since Alicia Bollinger had changed my number from that Cricket flip phone, or from that what was it, Straight Talk, Net 10. Fuck, what was it? Anyway, when Alicia Bollinger changed that over from my flip phone to Natalie's old phone that was all busted to shit, that was all the way in 2007 or 2016 in October. She quit her job 10 minutes after doing that. She insisted that it was in her name. She insisted that she paid for it. And when things didn't go well, now after 30 days, anybody who tries to call me on my phone is not going to be able to do so because I no longer have that number because it's in Alicia Bollinger's name. So basically, her help, although well intentioned, entirely fucked me over. And she's got no fucking remorse for that. She doesn't want to hear that. She doesn't fucking care. She's got her meth to keep her company. She's got her meth dealers to keep her company. She can smoke that shit, get all fucking horny, and have sex with some fucking actual creeper. Shit, I wonder how many loads of snot he busted in her. Yeah, I'm not going to call it what it really is. It's the consistency of snot, and it's nasty. And when it comes out of women, it's same consistency and same fucking nasty. So I had to walk a good portion of the way back to Chapel. I walked a lot of the way to Kimball. There was a guy who picked me up and gave me a ride the last few miles into Kimball, but god damn, it was a lot of walking. That was the day before the 4th of July, the 3rd of July. So of course, I gotta carry that backpack, and I gotta carry it most of the way to Chapel. This stranger gives me a ride, and stranger danger, stranger danger. Yeah, sure. He was nice enough, and of course, I had to walk from there to try to get to Chapel. Part of the way there, it was dark. I was off to the side of the road. There was just a mattress sitting there, probably blew off of somebody's vehicle while they were moving. And I did sit on that for a bit, and I called 911 from that phone, and I tried explaining the situation. And a Nebraska State Patrol officer come and picked me up, and he had me get in the back of the vehicle where they put people who were under arrest, but he wasn't arresting me. He said it was called a courtesy ride or something like that. And officers have many times told me they're not allowed to do that. They can't do that. Well, they can sure do that when they want you the fuck out of the county. Michelle Quinn, when she was just a deputy, gave me a courtesy ride. So, I mean, it's not like I'm not familiar with these things intimately. So I get part of the way to where I'm going, and that state patrol officer can only give me a ride so far, and then he drops me off. And another guy, he is driving a small pickup, and I sit in the back of his vehicle because he's got his dog with him, and he drops me off in, what is it, Potter, I think. And they're having their Fourth of July celebrations there and fireworks and all that. And the I got there just after everything was over, and there was a fire department there, and they were doing stuff at the fire department, and I tried to take a nap right across the street from the fire department while I was waiting on another person who was going to give me a courtesy ride. A Cheyenne County guy was supposed to give me a ride. Well, he didn't get back a hold of me. How are they going to be able to? There's no phone number on that phone. There hasn't been a phone number on that phone for, about 2 years by this point. So I went over to a park that's over there, and I tried to sleep over by the bathroom. It was nasty, but at least there was not a lot of wind going through it. Well, finally, I'm able to get a hold of them, and they say that they sent a deputy out, or the deputy, sorry, comes and sees me, and he says that he's already been sent out and came out once, and he wasn't happy about having to come back out. But we had us a good conversation. We talked about people that we mutually knew, like Tucker Peterson. His sister Whitley was killed over by Sand Hills, or Sandpoint Cattle Company. It's actually changed hands, but there's a big old cross out there with a bunch of flowers on it, same as there was when it was Sandpoint. We talked about that. We talked about Tucker. He had told me that the state patrol guys that I had spoken to, that they said that if I wasn't in, I had to be at the courthouse by 9 o'clock, or I wasn't going to get my car back. So I got to the courthouse by 9 o'clock, and of course, Bill Burr is there. I say Bill instead of Will because William Barr and Bill Burr are two different people. One of them is a state patrol officer here in Chapel, Nebraska. The other one is a fucking punk ass bitch. So that guy explains to me, basically what I just explained. He drops me off right at the county border because he's a Cheyenne County deputy. He's not allowed to come into Dual County. Of course, later on, I got Cheyenne County deputies coming into Dual County to fucking harass me. They had no problems with it. They had no problems with doing those things that they said that they couldn't do. They had no problems doing those things when it was helping their fellow officers to get away with committing felonies. So I get back to the courthouse. I'm trying to explain this stuff to Bill Burr. And I'm like, dude, do you have a body camera? He says, no. I said, well, this needs to be recorded. He said, oh, well, my car is recording it. I got it on dash cam. I said, no, what I'm telling you needs to be recorded. He said, well, if it can record from the backside of a semi to the front end of a semi what it is that I'm saying, then I'm sure it's recording what we're saying now. Of course, in order to get that evidence, what do I need? I need a fucking lawyer. I don't have the money for one. All my money's getting eaten up by going to court date after court date after court date after court date. Steve Tomlinson has gone in. Graham has gone in. Steve Tomlinson paid attention. Graham, basically, he's an absent-minded idiot. I don't know how better to explain that. He's aloof. He's off in his own fucking world of Jesus and the Clan MacLeod or some such bullshit. So the cops are going out of their way to ignore everything that's happening to me at that point. They already know about Chris Kurth from multiple interactions. Molly Smith has already gone in with me. I've done my best to try to let her know what the situation is. And, she doesn't have a whole lot of time like most people. And I've been released from the hospital by this point and had to do all this walking and whatnot, and had my couple of situations with William Barr showing the quality of person that he is not. And I'm trying to explain what's going on with the deputies present. Jared Hahn is there. I'm trying to turn in Jared Hahn himself to Bill Burr, as well as Cody Selhorst and Sheriff Scott DaCosta. And he says that he'll turn it in and they'll have somebody get a hold of me. Well, you know what? For 2 years, I called them up wondering what the fuck was going on, being told, oh, well, it's not our job to investigate the police. It's not our job to police the police. That's not our job. That's somebody else's job. It's always someone else's job, isn't it? When you try to turn in a law enforcement officer, it's everybody else's job, unless there is a big major fucking to-do about it. If there's a bunch of people saying, hey, you are doing fucked up shit, this is a human being, you need to do your jobs, but I also need someone there and present to ensure that they do their jobs, or at least pretend to, which is even nastier. As long as it's recorded, well, at least there's proof. Some of these recordings I can only show in person. Yeah, I wish it wasn't that way. So then Jared Hahn, he's nice. He changes my tire. I get my car back. But that never should have happened. I never should have had to screech up and down Main Street in Chapel, Nebraska, honking my horn. I never should have had to do that to try to get help. In Virginia, yeah, that obviously I had to honk my horn to get help there. Obviously, honking the horn in that situation was a matter of preservation of life. I mean, there's a lot of trees that are over the roads there, and it was a pretty blind curve. I mean, it's a shallow curve, but it's a highway. So people are not driving 10 miles an hour on this sumbitch. They're not driving 15 miles an hour like they do through most, like they're supposed to through most of Chapel. They're not driving 25 miles an hour, which is the posted speed limit on Main Street here. No, these people are going fast. So in Virginia, I had to lay on my horn. There wasn't any ifs, ands, or buts about it. That was a safety issue. When I did that here, it was a, hey, some motherfucker better call 911, because if not, they're not going to take my fucking report. They're not going to write anything down. If I hand them in my report, I'll explain to them, you know, I need photocopies of this shit when I turn it in. Well, that's not our responsibility. Okay, if it's not your responsibility, then I got to go find a place to make this. But then again, I got to turn it in. Well, you got to turn it in. But I can't take this piece of paper with me? I can't take it and make photocopies and bring it back? Well, no, but we can give you some blank ones and you go fill them out and bring them back. All right, I'll take the blank ones. I'll fucking fill this shit out again. I shouldn't have to fill out the fucking same police reports 4 fucking times, or even twice, like in that situation. And I ended up trying to make them about 4 or 5 times because they're telling me I never went to them about the issues. Scott DaCosta saying, well, I told you if there's a problem, my deputies come to me. I came to him about his deputies repeatedly. I went to Nebraska State Patrol about his deputies repeatedly. I went to Molly Smith about his deputies. I went to Lauren Nelson about his deputies. I went to Joel Jay about his deputies, who is the former county prosecutor. I went to Mr. Starkey, who is the current public or county prosecutor. So, I mean, it's not like I wasn't trying. It's not like I didn't record the conversations. It's not like I didn't tell the truth. It's the fact that I didn't know how to use the internet shit. And I was going for help, and people just wanted to keep on blowing me off like I didn't fucking matter. The Martindales, after years of basically considering them family, and they threw me away like a sack of fucking potatoes. And Will tells me, well, the reason that Justine didn't help you that day is because Rick told her not to. Her family told her not to. Rick said not to help you. Rick said blah, 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 blah. You goddamn right I was pissed off at the Martindale family after that. Now, later on, when I was trying to turn in Will, there's a reason for that. I thought it was strange that even though I'm walking by his house and flipping off his fucking house, Rick Martindale is talking to me like I'm a person. So I stopped and talked to him one day. He invited me in to hang out. He invited me to smoke some of his weed. He invited me to, he was being friendly with me. I didn't want to have anything to do with the situation. I was still pissed off at Rick about it. He's trying to make amends, but really, that shit is not okay. The least he could have done is admit to that shit. But, I'm at Pumpkin Pantry, and every time Rick sees me at Pumpkin Pantry, he comes over and says hello and has a couple of seconds of chit chat, invites me over to his house a few times. So eventually I went over there. And I showed him the device that I used for recording people. I said, Rick, I'm going to do the same thing for you I did for Dennis Dickinson. I'm going to talk to you without this on, and I am going to show it to you. I also showed it to Chris Stegeman. I gave them all one conversation that it was not recorded on. And I talked to Rick, and I said, you know what? I've been pissed off at you guys for a while. Will claimed that the reason that Justine didn't help me is because you told her not to. And I told him a few of the other things that William Barr had said. And Rick said, well, this is the first I've heard about it. Well, no wonder he was so fucking nice. He had no fucking clue what I was pissed off at him about because it wasn't something he actually did. William Barr was lying out his fucking ass. The goddamn piece of shit. But what do you expect out of a fucking pig? What can you expect more than that out of any of these pigs? We can't call them law enforcement officers. They're not enforcing the laws. They're breaking them. Yeah. Walter, there is nobody out there. I didn't hear a car door close, and I didn't hear a car drive by. You peeking out the window was just weird. That's what tweakers do, Walter. That's what tweakers do. So I was able to make that chapel. I needed Molly Smith's help after that. I needed her to come forward about what she knew, but she was pretty busy with her own stuff. Yes, that was an actual vehicle. You can go look. Dogs. So after that, I had to do a lot of desperate shit. I mean, at that point, it was pretty obvious none of these people actually gave a shit about me. Most of them were only interested in fucking trolling bullshit. They were only interested in gaslighting me. Like Natalie's two ex-stepmothers and their friend Kara Johnson Miles. And the slander that they put in my court paperwork, that they were allowed to tell that slander and use that slander to prevent me from having an honest court date. And to see to it that I was victimized as if I am a child predator by the guards in those jails. That ain't something you do to a fucking person. That was the depending on if you consider the situation in January of 2017 abuse of power. That was the second or the third time that they pulled fucked up bullshit like that. Where I'm trying to turn in abuse, and my abusers get to make the decisions of what happens to me. So I talked to Polly Olson many times throughout those situations. Many times. She kept on telling me to call places I had already called. I have recordings with the places that she told me to call. And then, of course, about, 3 weeks ago, when I called them up, they claimed that I hadn't tried to make a report because there was no notes. Well, with all due respect, lucky for me, I was intelligent enough to record those phone calls, many of them, and post them on YouTube. So they can lie out their ass all they fucking want. The evidence is on here. There's a lot of it. Now, ultimately, I'm going to have to tell you about the fire. The desperate things that I did to try to get the FBI involved. Especially with the fact that there was so much evidence. There was so much stuff from Mandy Hughes alone. I mean, just the stuff that she was claiming she was going to do, and she cared, and this, that, and the other. A lot of people did a lot of things for me. A lot, but none of it was help. And here's why. Because what I needed was their fucking words. And what did I post all over this YouTube that they're pissed off about? It's their words. The shit they should have come forward about. The shit that they are ashamed of themselves for. Are you ashamed because you did wrong, or are you ashamed because you got fucking caught, Terry Jepson? Don't fucking bullshit me. Don't fucking lie to me. I've got an IQ of 172. I am smarter than you. There's a lot of stuff that I don't know how to do that you do know how to do. That does not make you more intelligent than me. It makes you more educated in other areas. But we're going to use a word for me that you guys take as an insult. You guys are fucking ignorant. You want to make your decisions based on ignorance. Well, you know what? When it comes to computers, I am ignorant. That's not an insult. When it comes to computer stuff, I am ignorant. So I've been trying to turn in Scott DaCosta ever since. That thing that happened in 2020, December 16th of 2020, that was the culmination of well over a year of Nebraska State Patrol not doing jack shit, not calling me, making no effort to do their goddamn job. And the things that they want to claim later on, fucking prove it. Prove it. Because prior to that, I have 0 calls from the Nebraska State Patrol. All of my calls prior to the assault by Scott DaCosta and Nebraska State Trooper Lassen, they were all outgoing. All of them. Every one of them. On all of my phones. It wasn't just the Nebraska State Patrol. It was the Nebraska Attorney General's office. Over and over again. And I had many people say, you got to get a hold of the Nebraska Attorney General's office. I did. I also called who they told me to, the Nebraska State Patrol, who said it's not their job. They also said that because of all the stuff that was obviously across jurisdictional borders, that the FBI is the one that I need to get a hold of. I tried to get a hold of them and they tell me it's not their job. Meanwhile, I have hundreds of calls with them that show them telling me it's not their job. And on these phone calls, you can tell I'm making these calls alone and I'm getting blown off. Later on, they want to pretend they don't exist. They're still on my fucking YouTube channel, asshole. Like, this has got to be the worst conspiracy in the history of conspiracies. You know what makes a good conspiracy? It can neither be proven nor disproven. Well, I can prove my shit. I can prove that I'm telling the truth. The only parts that I can't are when I was separated from my evidence, separated from the things that I needed to have to record those incidences. And that's why being in jails or prisons are so horrible. Those guards don't give a fuck about you. They assume you're guilty. They deny you what are your constitutional rights. And you can't turn them in because their superiors are even bigger assholes than they are. They say, I got to go to Scott DaCosta about it. I've been to Scott DaCosta about it. What did he do? He broke the law. Polly Olson can admit that she gave me the number to the Nebraska Attorney General's office. She can also admit that she said she wasn't willing to help me because she's friends with some of these deputies. Fuck it. And Polly Olson, I wouldn't expect you to be a good person. You talk, but you dated Jim Hayes. And you have broken the law for these officers here. So, yeah, I don't care how nice you talk. You're not a good fucking person. A good person would admit that I went to them for help. This has been ongoing for years. And when I try to explain it to people, like, obviously, you know, when I'm talking to Marcia, she does talk a lot. She's got things that she has to say and points that she wants to make and verify and cross-reference. You know, well, there was a similar situation with, all right, we can have some little bit of story time, but, you know, we can't have Shannon Alvarado story time. If you're going to help me and you're going to tell a few stories, I get it. Sometimes you just can't help it. But Shannon Alvarado's story time is pretty well nonstop, her talking about whatever it is. She had this one little nugget, and you explain to her that it doesn't work, and literally she's going to re-ask the same question 8 to 10 times, and then she's going to forget that she asked you the question at all, and she's going to ask it again. Have you tried this? Fuck, Jesus, goddamn Christ. I thought she was on meth. Turns out she's just a real bad alcoholic. You guys can tell in that phone call where I was arrested December 16th. You know, I've got 5 recordings overall of that night, or 4 or 5 of them. I mean, I made those phone calls repeatedly. Absolutely. I admitted that I made those phone calls repeatedly. I made those phone calls to turn in Scott DaCosta. I made those phone calls to turn in his deputies. I made those phone calls to get help. Nebraska State Patrol says they don't police the police. They sure as fuck did with Michelle Quinn when she beat the fuck out of her girlfriend, didn't they? It is their job. Nebraska Attorney General's office told me it was their job. And for 2 goddamn years, they went out of their way to pretend it's not their fucking job. Fuck this goddamn country. And fuck everybody in it who supports this shit. If you're willing to pick up a gun for this government, you're a horrible excuse for a human being.